they are. If you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number is 452 3046. Again, 452 3046, as well as our WhatsApp number. That is 724 0008. Again, 724 0008. Today we're going to be discussing some local matters, national matters, politics, and government development. And we're going to have the communications director of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and also Senator Lisa Jawa, here as our special guest here at the lunchroom. But first, we want to send out some birthday greetings. First, Mrs. Genevieve Lamar. Happy birthday to you, Genevieve, and we do hope that you're having an absolutely wonderful and fantastic birthday celebration. Also to Miss Sedwina Demang, happy birthday to you, and hope you're having a wonderful birthday. And also to Miss Brittany Barnard, happy birthday to you, Brittany, and wishing you the very best of birthdays as well. Also to Mr. John Mangal, not on island, but we do hope that he's having a fantastic birthday, and hope you enjoy it to the fullest. And I want to look back in terms of some history for this day. And we go back to the year 1865, where the United States Congress passed by a vote of 121 to 24 the 13th Amendment of the United States Congress, abolishing slavery in the United States. In the year 1943, on this day, German Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus surrendered to Soviet troops at Stalingrad. 1950, on this day, U.S. President Harry Truman publicly announced support for the development of a hydrogen bomb. And on this day in 1985, January the 31st, South African President P.W. Botha offered to free Nelson Mandela if he denounced violence. And we now move on to our dish of the day. The Daily Dish is ready to kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. This all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jubilee Lanes, and Flag Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
Sorry about that. I hope you were hearing me now. And thanks for joining us here on the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Last show for the month of January. Made it through that, and we do hope that you're having a good one. And of course, we'll be back again next week. So it'll be a brand new month of February then. But of course, we're going to end with a little bit of touch on the local political scene. And of course, we welcome all sides here at the lunchroom. And we have with us Senator Lisa Jawa here, the communications director of the St. Lucia Labour Party, the party that currently has a majority in the Parliament of St. Lucia and forms the government. Welcome, Lisa. How are you doing? Happy New Year. I don't think we've actually extended greetings to you. So all the best for 2025.
Happy New Year, Calix, and thank you so much. We really wanted to get both of us on the screen, but I think we may have to put it a little further so we can capture.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe not. Let's see. We'll figure something else out there. But of course, it's a brand new year into the last quarter of the financial year as well. What to look forward to, in your opinion, from the government of St. Lucia, the ruling St. Lucia Labour Party, heading into what is it's currently in its fourth year? Is that what it's considered? Yeah. What's there to look into?
So,
to look
Calix,
towards?
it's been a while since we've been here, and a lot has been happening. And I want to start off by thanking um, your viewers for staying true to this program. It's always been one of my favorite programs because I learn a lot, Alex. You bring a lot of information into the public domain, and oftentimes we tend to forget how things come about and the reasons why we are here today. And so we have come a very long way. We are about 3.5 years into the administration, SLP administration, led by Honorable Philip J. Peer. And the achievements have been far reaching. And I say far reaching because people sometimes, well, we are given one term to be in office, an average of 5 years. And many of us can admit that there's a lot that can happen in 5 years, and there's also a lot that may not happen in 5 years. But either way, we have to do our best because we promised the people of St. Lucia that we will deliver. And so, quickly going back to the first 100 days, we were able to achieve so much in healthcare, um, in education, moving out from the work from home system. And these were really foundational issues that we really needed to stress on, Calix, and work on, because we, of course, did not want to remain stagnant. We needed to adapt, and we needed to figure out a system that would help our people to continue to thrive even during COVID. And as a result of that, we saw a lot of things happening. We saw the reintroduction of the One Laptop per Child program. Thousands of students across St. Lucia have received their device. There should not be a student in school, secondary school for that matter, who does not have access to a learning device so they can keep up with what is going on around them, get into home and doing their homework, etc. And we also saw the evolution of the youth economy. Now, I know, Calix, you played an integral role. I'll put out your business. You played an integral role in getting this off the ground. I remember it was a group of young persons who really huddled together, trying to come up with a strategy of how, or a plan on how we would execute the vision of Philip JP. Remember those times, Calix? And we are here today on a flagship promise of empowering people. And that promise has really centered around educating people, providing access to marketing, providing access to finance, and mentorship. Because sometimes as young persons, we are excited, we are ambitious, we are driven, we are zealous. Some people say overly zealous, but we still need guidance. And so the mentorship program has been a critical part of the youth economy to allow for other young people to learn from the experiences, including mistakes, of those who've gone before them. The part about it that really is the one thing that everybody has been excited about is the easier access to finance. And we have more than 3,000 young persons who have benefited in some way from the youth economy program. That has really allowed or contributed to the reduction in the unemployment rate that we've seen with Philip J. Pierre. We've been able to see our economy thriving because we have more entrepreneurs, we have more money circulating. And the vision of the SLP has really been to empower people. So almost everything that we have done have really surrounded the fundamental principles of the party, bread, which really means that not you're not just able to feed yourself, but you're able to feed others in terms of empowerment and entrepreneurship. Justice, we've been able to give the greatest amount of resources to the police force. And we're faced with a time regionally, globally, where we are seeing certain things beyond our control, and some things we've been able to prevent and some manage, and I'm referring to crime. And so even under the previous commission, or the last commission of police, our prime minister offered or gave the police the most amount of resources. That's just not the ATVs and the jet skis, that's the vehicles, the bulletproof vests. We have continued training recruits, and I saw the recruits. I was stuck in traffic by Slaspo on my way here, Alex. And looking at the recruits, I was saying, Lucia, you must agree with me. These recruits are really working hard. These recruits are excited. I saw two of
I
them.
think you've seen such an impact since, was it November, December the 18th, I think, when they rolled out, these, 78
Yes,
new
yes.
officers, and
Mm-hmm,
you've actually felt that impact of that
mm-hmm.
injection of manpower and woman power
Yes.
into the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, because as you're rightly saying, you definitely are seeing a much greater presence. And maybe in addition to that, there is some operational changes going on, because that was mentioned by Acting Commissioner God, that you were going to be seeing more boots on the ground,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
the police, engaging it a lot more with, especially in terms of traffic management, which
And
is
then
a
there's the
major issue.
mobile police station now as well. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we're seeing some successes as well being announced in terms of some of the breakthroughs in some of the crimes. So that's definitely, I mean, in terms of ending on a high note, but certainly almost immediately seeing some of the impact
Right.
has been really good, I think, over the month of January. Hopefully, of course, I mean, they're planning on doing another
Yes.
80 or so
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
by March, I think,
Prime
which
Minister
is
did
really, really
promise
important,
that.
I think. And, because you will naturally, of course, have police officers retiring every single year, and there hasn't been a sufficient replenishment of those numbers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The thing about it is that we're seeing a lot of use of technology.
Mhm.
Excuse me.
Oh, we need to get you some water inside of here as well. Well, we'll work on that one. Yeah, it is a little bit cold in the room as well. But as you rightfully mentioning, the whole issue of technology and the police, certainly one of those areas that we do want to actually see a lot more of, because you've got to have the edge when it comes to monitoring and surveillance. And I mean, even when we speak about CCTV, and putting out the CCTV cameras is just one part of the story. You definitely do need to be able to have the software to, in fact, do the processing, and to be able to do the facial recognition, to be able to identify these individuals in real time, and to be able to do the kind of tracking that has to happen with respect to the the surveillance type of stuff there. Because obviously, if you have 1,000 cameras out there, for argument's sake, I mean, you're never going to have enough manpower to just simply monitor all of these cameras. So you definitely do need to ensure that that technology is there to do a lot of that,
Yep.
a lot of that work as well. So that type of investment is important for the police.
The thing about it, Alex, is the previous administration.
Oh, well, take your time, Lisa. It's not a problem. I think the room is perhaps not the friendliest at the moment. It's a little cold in here, so we'll try to adjust the temperature as we go. Of course, yeah.
Let's try this again, because it is a bit cold here.
Yeah.
And I am recovering from a kind of flu. I don't know where that flu come from, but
Tis the
so the
season.
previous administration has been talking about the cameras, and I think it's very important for us to talk about this, because there was funding in place
Mhm.
for those cameras, and we saw a lot of things happening in terms of the patrol letter, different things surfacing.
Mhm.
But we're at a point where we realize that these cameras are indeed effective, and they are assisting the police in fighting crime.
Mhm.
So I have been getting some statistics. I am going to try to pull it up really quickly. But we have been getting some feedback from the commissioner's office
Right.
in terms of what the police has been able to do. But
But I
even
think
yet,
also the point needs to be made, though, that this situation regarding crime is such a difficult one for all of the Caribbean right
Mhm.
now, and even countries that traditionally had relative, or at least perceived to have, I should say, relatively low crime rates. seem to now be dealing with
Mm-hmm.
significant waves
Right.
in terms of crime. And in the case of Barbados, for
Mm-hmm.
example, very traditionally very low homicide rates. And last year, I think, in fact, experienced the largest jump of all islands in terms of their number of
Mm-hmm.
homicides. 51. Now, point to be made, of course, it's still much lower than us, even with a larger population. So it's still, our situation is still worse than
Mm-hmm.
theirs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you're seeing now that in places like there, that which did not traditionally have to that extent, I mean, where we are at in terms of our location between next to Martinique has, caused for a lot of conflict
Right.
with respect to narcotics and those gangs. They didn't really have that much, but now they're even seeing, again, because of the prevalence of guns
Mm-hmm.
all over these countries, really, really major challenges. Even recently, just today, this situation in Trinidad unfolding, the arrest of a commissioner of police in,
Calix,
in, in
that
connection
is.
with
Mm-hmm.
procurement of firearms. Still not clear all the details as to what's going on there, but of course those types of situations clearly sending a lot of shockwaves,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly does point out that in the Caribbean we have without a doubt a significant challenge to deal with when it comes to violent crime in particular.
Mm-hmm. So we got this bulletin from the police commissioner's office, and these things are things that are happening all the time. People often say, but the police isn't doing anything. What's the police doing? But if you tune into at least the Facebook pages, for example, or sometimes we are in a haste when we're done watching the news, we want to go ahead and watch our soaps or some of the Netflix program towards the end of these programs. And maybe they should put them higher up, these news, primetime news features. The police, even the fire service give you an account. They give you some data
Mm-hmm.
as to what they've been up to. And recently we heard or learned of murders and seizures of illegal firearms. And we got this bulletin that said the Sufra murder, the recent one, was solved.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just say arrests have been made, but murder solved. Multiple arrests were made. In Choiseul,
Mm-hmm.
2 firearms were seized. Police also responded to shootings in Babano, to a shooting in Babano a couple days
Yes, in
ago.
Bojis, yes.
Yes, and 1 firearm was recovered. A vehicle was intercepted, and 6 persons arrested.
Mm-hmm.
It really tells you that the resources that we are giving the police work. But it's just not about the resources that Honorable Philip J. Pierre has been giving. It's about the combined efforts of the public with members of families or persons who are under witness protection programs and the management of the police. And I'm speaking not just of Commissioner God, I'm speaking of his team, of his hierarchy, of the operations of the RSLPF that are really coming together. Because sometimes you have an issue, Calix, and you have to start somewhere. And in this case, we are seeing that the police has gotten stronger hold of what their goal is. And the fact that the public is being updated on this data is incredible. And we look forward to more information from that. But Prime Minister did promise at the last recruit ceremony that he was going to put in the budget the amounts for another group of young men and women to serve their country. I attended that ceremony and I was particularly moved by the valedictorian. It was a young woman,
Mm-hmm.
and the way she spoke of her colleagues, the way they responded to her, we are seeing that such a noble profession, which was, filled with more male figures, more people from across the
Mm-hmm.
two genders, and women are even raising their hands to be able to serve their country. And we're seeing that happen in a big way. So kudos and hats off to the young men and the men of the men and women of the Royal Saint Lucia police force and the new recruits. Big up to y'all because, Calix, I almost got a ticket in town today. But I made the right decision and I didn't have a recruit asking me to roll down my window.
Mm.
So people stay vigilant because they're really there to do their jobs and to remind us that we
Right.
need to be safe.
And I mean, some people, you can't have your cake and eat it. You want to be secure, and I know sometimes people might not be completely happy about the stop and search, and
Oh,
then maybe
I am always happy when I see
the
that,
delays that may come with
Calix.
some of those things. But
It's to
certainly,
our
it
benefit.
is certainly something that happens all over the world, and it
Mhm,
is something that
mhm.
is necessary in terms of intervention with the police. And I mean, that happening, of course, the importance of perhaps the police also, and communicating people's rights is
Correct.
very
It's
important.
important. Yeah.
But of course, that generally, I think the uptick in police activity is welcomed by the public, and let's hope, of course, that we can continue to see some positive results
Coming out of that.
and actually a bucking of the trends in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the crime numbers, because there was that feeling perhaps that a lot of people felt that criminal elements perhaps felt that well, I can commit a crime and nothing's really going to happen.
And nothing is really going to happen.
I can get out of the country. I can, stay maybe in Martinique for a couple of years and come back, and whatever the case may be. But having this definitely stronger cooperation regionally as well in terms of fighting crime, but also having the capacity on island to be able to tackle the crime situation is very, very, very important. Lisa, I wanted to get into the matter of the economy and where that is going. Generally, some people are saying, they're hearing it. They're hearing about the record arrivals this last year past 2024. Significantly. I mean, we've surpassed the last highest number of student arrivals, which was back in 2019 in that pre-pandemic period. I think that it's about 3% over that 2019 figure. But is that making a difference in terms of people's lives, you think?
Absolutely. And if we want to bring it home to specific events, for example, like the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival, every year people prepare for that. It is not just the tourists making their plans to come to an island to spend money and have an amazing experience. It is the heavy behind the scenes work that goes into preparing for their arrival and presenting our country in a manner where you want returning guests. And we looked at, of course, year after year, the SLP has been bringing in record numbers. Numbers have been increasing in terms of online ticket sales for jazz, even carnival activities. And it is not just the persons who are part of stage production, part of lights, part of choreographing the what you see at the Jazz and Arts Festival. The taxi drivers are always busy. The bus drivers are busy because even after they're done with their trip, they're still transporting people. People are hiring their vehicles. They are still getting support as shuttle drivers. So they are still working. The hairdressers are always busy. Calix, if I want to get a nail appointment or a hair appointment for jazz, I have to book maybe a month or two in advance sometimes. You know, because they are always booked. People are coming to St. Lucia. St. Lucians who live abroad are returning home because they want to be part of that. And it has always been an exciting experience because remember, Mother's Day is celebrated, and the last day, the Sunday, is celebrated as Mother's Day here. So, bus drivers, taxi drivers, hair, makeup artists, speculators, because you want to have the nicest outfit, tour operators, because people are coming to your country or you are hosting your family. You want to take them to the Sulphur Spring. You want to take them to the waterfall in Ancillary. You want to take them to Dennery Saturday, or you want to take them to Grizzly Friday night. And so what we did as a government to establish the community tourism agency was brilliant, in my opinion, because we saw certain communities being highlighted for what it is that they offer. Remember, we had the Canary Squirrel Pot, Ancestry Fish Friday every Saturday, and Grizzly Friday night, and that was it. But everywhere you go across St. Lucia, you see something happening. And I had the joy of driving down to Viewfort very early this morning, and I just got back.
Wow. You're busy.
and I saw a lot of activity along the
Mhm.
roadsides, and tourists were stopping
Mhm.
so they could patronize from the local bars. And it was like, okay, so early, but some of them were not even having breakfast at the hotels. They were coming out into the community, like
Right.
Sufra, for example, to just taste the local breakfast made on hand, like right in front of them. And I'm looking at this and
And
I'm
I
like,
think that the
wow.
point that you're making is important, such an important point. And even recently, I was reading an article, I think, in Jamaica Gleaner, which was actually quoting St. Lucian president of the Caribbean Tourism Association, Nick Destan. In fact, a big shout out to Bay Gardens. They just celebrated their 30th anniversary of operations, making the point that the visitor of today is a lot more interested in that immersive, authentic experience. Yes, they may want to stay at an all-inclusive for a couple of days, but that they don't want that to be the sum total of their holiday. They definitely want to be able to interact, learn how to maybe prepare a bouillon, or to they want to taste the tomato bread. They want to do those things. And the importance of that in terms of the spread of the dollar, that visitor dollar is a really critical thing. You're mentioning jazz. I noticed the effort at play as well to try to spread jazz around.
Yes.
I've also heard Mr. Shastney, leader of the opposition, criticizing jazz, and that comparison often comes up between Soleil, the Soleil Summer
Soleil
Festival,
Couché.
and give yourself, Lisa, and the Signature Jazz and Arts Festival. But one of the things that strikes out to me about the Jazz and Arts Festival, which is always perhaps very organically has always had so many different fringe events in different communities, that has that ability to spread activity, economic activity into the rural economy.
Yeah, and if you're like somebody like me, you want to experience all of it. Because I don't know, like there was this one time, there was a group in Deriso. Can't remember the name of the group right now. And there was another group in Sufre. I'm like, oh my God, the two on the same day.
Oh
I
yes, I
need
think I
to
remember
go.
that. Yes.
And we left Deriso. We made the round Sufre. So I was able to experience a bit of both. But it's an exciting time. And Calix, for somebody like myself, my background is heavy into marketing, well, tourism and hospitality. And I understand how these guests want to leave their homes because they have these things there. They have the nice restaurants at the hotels, but they don't have access to the experience or the culture and feeling something that is different. The dive experiences, the natural experiences, climbing World Heritage site like the pitons. These are things that they can go back home and say, I did, or I visited the island that for the 15th time is the world's leading honeymoon destination. I mean, in my opinion and yours and all patriotic St. Lucia is the most beautiful country in the world, only country named after a woman, fastest woman in the world. I mean, we have so much to offer. And that is why we are seeing people continuously flooding our shores. Now, St. Lucia has that tourism product that they've developed for years. Admit it, and we can admit that this transcends politics because it's administration over administration. Every time there is some award, there is something. And right now, we're seeing billions of foreign direct investment into our economy. We are seeing hotels coming up. We are seeing rooms coming up. Everybody has an Airbnb. Calix, I almost suspect I'll have to turn mine into an Airbnb too because people want that experience. It's not that the hotels will not be filled because the all-inclusive package, an Airbnb or a mom and pop or bed and breakfast might not be able to offer that. But aside from that, People come to St. Lucia to experience what it is we have. And we've been able to do a fantastic job at putting our country on display. These things have led to the economic development. And it's really the vision behind it and trying to figure out what it is that we need to develop to get people to our shores. Critical for us is the redevelopment of the Castries port.
Stick a pin because that's a major issue. But we do have to take a break at this point in time, actually, for our weather report. So we're going to end our edition of the day at this time and head across to take in that report from the St. Lucia Met Services.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One test for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need test for your balcony. Come down to Test Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Test Plus, Test Plus, Test Plus. Big test with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Need all kind of tests. Come down to Test Plus. We are so glad that's your and vanity. Boss, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best at an island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugos Village, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Test Plus.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive. In Island style.
We have tiles and tin sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And also, of course, on 1.1, it's now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours, winds will be blowing from the east near 23 miles per hour or 37 kilometers per hour. The weather partly cloudy, hazy and breezy, becoming cloudy at times with some scattered light to moderate showers. And there is an advisory in here which reads small craft operators and sea bathers are advised to exercise caution due to brisk winds and locally rough seas. The forecast for the Los Antilles, partly cloudy, hazy and breezy, becoming cloudy at times with some scattered showers. And the weather summary, a weak low-level trough is expected to cause occasional cloudiness and some scattered showers over the Los Antilles during the forecast period. Also, the Atlantic high-pressure system will continue to generate moderate to brisk easterly winds and locally rough seas across the Eastern Caribbean region during the next few days. And this was your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island Style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island Style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island Style.
We have tiles and tin sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, we're speaking with Senator Lisa Jawa here, the Communications Director of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and talking about a bit of where things are at in terms of national development on a number of fronts. Of course, we were just speaking about the situation of crime and police response. We started talking about the economy, particularly that of tourism and where things are at in terms of that sector. But one of the other areas, of course, the matter of agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
That has been has always been, of course, traditionally a very agrarian society that we have. That has moved on, but we've seen a lot of change in agriculture. One of the major ones as a result of that during the Shasta administration, we saw the collapse of Windfresh.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the end of exports of bananas to the United Kingdom. Um, that sector has been under a lot of change. We're still seeing exports to the region, but at a much lower level than where things are at. But as well, in terms of food production, I mean, what's there to look at in terms of looking forward? I mean, we also had some challenges late in terms of things like black sigatoka.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to talk a bit about that.
Yes, and that has been a perennial issue for us as a country. A lot of these things, and I was having this conversation interestingly, like right before coming onto the show, that even with climate change, we see the rising um, change in temperature, the rising of temperature, which can influence the a lot of the pests that we are
Hmm.
encountering these days. And some of these situations have become worse over the months. Some months where you normally would have dry weather, you have so much rain. Some when it's normally so rainy, it's like what's going on, and so it has really impacted what has been happening. There was a reason given by the Minister for Agriculture in terms of the um, readily, in terms of the availability of the spray oil, and that matter has been looked into and resolved. But of course, there are a lot of things that we need to do and be on top of. So, even with the collapse of Windfresh and all of these things, we had a recent situation where, and it's recent, because farmers could not have maintained their production or their supply or their trade because there was a lack of boxes. Right now, government of Saint Lucia does not produce boxes. We are not in the business of producing boxes of bananas. Yet this affected a lot of families. And the farmers are not only doing this for themselves, they have children to send to school, they have loans to pay for their vehicles, they have loans to pay on their farms, they have loans to pay on their homes. Some of them have children in university. And some of the stories that you hear and how they have really been able to maintain, it's quite remarkable. And sometimes, and if you're not from a farming community or you're not from an area that is where farming is a big thing, you may not understand. But for me, Calix, even growing up in the in Castries Southeast, which is a heavy farming community, you see the struggles. I mean, some young people, some of us would have to carry banana boxes on our head, and these were the things that sent our children or sent children, even us and our friends, to school. And so the government of St. Lucia understood that and the impact that it would have left and gave more than $1 million disbursement to farmers. And that has been quite remarkable. And some of the other achievements that we have been able to cover, we have collaborated, of course, for on training programs, especially in the cocoa sector with the cocoa sector enhancement project. And there was a $22.9 million grant agreement with the Japanese government to redevelop the Choiseul fishing port. US 9.8 million um, to assist farmers in building adaptive capabilities. When I say adaptive capabilities, like even adaptive and sustainable capabilities to tackle climate change, for example. And that's why a lot of training was offered in rainwater harvesting and soil conservation and management. The fertilizer subsidies, that was a big one. And I know Honorable Alfred Sabach Prosper at the SLP's first town hall meeting for this year spoke greatly on that. The
Like I heard a
figure,
farmer anecdotally saying that he hadn't actually paid for any fertilizer for the year past
imagine
because there was
that.
actually quite a
Hmm.
lot being provided under some programs like the UBEC World Bank funded programs. So there've been
Programs.
a lot of inputs being supported through that. Things like the water tanks that you're mentioning, of course,
Yes, 1,000, one
climate
thousand
change,
gallon.
resilience. That of course was another initiative under there.
Yeah, and we saw that over 9,000 bags of fertilizer. So
Hmm.
I can understand that farmer is really happy because you know the amount of fertilizer you'd have to purchase for your crop, for your crops for the year, and he did not have to purchase it at all. And of course, you know, we had more than 120,000 seedlings, 4 million to the NFTO to support banana recovery, and even a subvention to farmers with disabilities of $10,000 each. Now I want to come back to that amount, to that support given to the NFTO,
Hmm.
because it does not seem to be something that people understand. When the hurricane hit, that really dealt a blow to our farmers. This was not something that we could have seen coming. I mean, you
Hurricane
prepare.
Beryl, yeah. Hmm. That was a tropical storm, yeah.
You prepare, right? You prepare for these things, but when it comes, it comes,
Hmm.
and so it would deal a blow to our economy. And even before that, in 2017, there was another disaster. Can't remember the name right now, but there are a group of people going around. And you know who I'm referring to, saying that we have failed the people in agriculture during those years because agriculture went down by 17%. But how can you control what happens with a hurricane? If there is a hurricane, people are not at work, plants are down on the ground. And so it has been quite malicious of the United Workers' Party to push that agenda when this government has done far more to support the agricultural sector. There was also a $1 million compensation package to banana farmers. You did speak about more than 1,000 farmers getting 1,000 gallon water tanks, and that is not just for produce, agriculture, produce. That's also for livestock, farmers who have livestock. Because remember, some farmers will have
Right.
pigs, they have rabbits, that sort of thing. And we also continue to train different um, train in different sectors in agriculture. Even more recently, some of our women were trained in small scale mushroom production, and
Hmm.
we're seeing even the request now
I think
for
there's a men's program for that as
there's
well.
one happening
Right.
right now. Um, and so, you know, where there's agriculture, we can't forget fisheries. So I'll just touch on that really quickly. Yes, there was the 250 rebate.
Right. Hmm.
300 vessel owners received tracking devices.
Hmm.
Critical. FADs were deployed, the fish
Hmm.
aggregating devices, of course, the certification for CMOS farmers, because, you know, it's not just what tourists or visitors find when they come in St. Lucia. It's the value of our product out in the global market.
Just
And
recently, I saw Export Solution boasting about CMOS, Solution CMOS in Dubai.
yes, yes. And these are
Hmm.
the things that are really showing you that we've been doing a good job in terms of how we put our programs together. And so we are seeing that in CMOS, we are seeing that in cocoa, and a whole lot more sectors.
Now, I mean, we have, and we can't speak about every sector for perhaps the entire program, but I just want to touch on as many as possible just to get a sense of the matter. Next one I want to discuss a little bit on is roads. And we've been hearing quite a lot about roads, the condition of roads are bad. Um, the statements coming out of the opposition are that they have never been worse than they are now. Fair statement. Is that the case? And where are things in terms of road development?
Fair statement. There's nothing fair in terms of anyways, let's not go there. But to answer your question, Calix, that road situation is a headache for everybody because everybody's impacted. Whether you are in a vehicle, whether you own a vehicle, or you are driving a vehicle. It is not fair to say that the roads are in a worse condition than they ever were before. What I think we really need to look at is how we manage the construction and maintenance these of these projects. Excuse me. Because you cannot tell me that roads that were built, brand new roads, and let's look at the one down on the Rosa stretch. When you're going into Montciso, into Havana, I think they spent more than 4 to 5 million or something on that road. Calix, the craters you find on that road today, where the road wasn't surfaced properly, whether the drainage was done poorly, whatever the case may be, that was a brand new road built by the UWP that today is filled with craters. You look at the potholing work that they did when they were about to leave office. Not too long after, these things were dug up by the elements. So we have a problem that is bigger than what meets the eye, Calix. And it is a situation that the Minister for Infrastructure has spoken about. And we really need to take a hard look at it and find out whoever is auditing to see if the contractors are following things by the books. Because, Calix, I told you I just came from Beaufort. And I said I must pick up the phone and call Dr. Anthony and ask him about that road on the stretch when you're passing Coconut Bay, that concrete road when you're passing from Coconut Bay all the way to passing Beanfield. Calix, I don't remember the last time I saw any major work done on that road, but it's one of the roads that has really stood the test of time, decade after decade, and it's near the ocean. Can't remember exactly which government assisted us or which country assisted us with. You know which road I'm talking about? The main, the
The
highway.
base, the
Yeah.
American road.
Mhm.
Oh well, I mean that has been there since the 1940s.
But that is my point. What did they do that we cannot do? Can't we have? Is it a matter of it being too expensive? And Alex, you're an engineer, so you can educate people like myself on that. But I just cannot understand it. But then you see that we have a situation, a really genuine situation of climate change and the rain. And when they tell you that people cannot do potholing in the rain, it's a serious thing. I just don't understand, Calix, because it's as simple as ABC. If you are trying to fill a pothole and it's raining, the pothole is going to get filled with water. You cannot do the work. You have the hot asphalt. You cannot be able to layer the road in the rain. And so the climate change, the rain that we've been having has really been part of the reason why that has been delayed.
So I'm seeing that we're finally seeing a bit of light at the end of the tunnel with respect to the Millennium Highway, the Julian Alfred Highway now. West Coast Road, of course, that has been raising some concerns, particularly with taxi drivers and bus drivers operating that route. 5H, is it? So are we expecting to see those completed this year?
Calix, I really believe that we are going to see a whole lot more done now than before. I think Prime Minister has really been able to pull these people together and say, listen, we've had enough of these delays. Let's get the work done. And, even what we inherited as it relates to the Millennium Highway and the belly aches that we encountered in terms of trying to fix that project and get the contractors to do the right thing. A lot of these contracts and how they were signed were done prior to this SLP government. But at the end of the day, people tell you they don't want to hear about who started it. They want to know who's going to get it done.
Right.
And Prime Minister has really been able to put his foot down and say, I need this completed. So I can now pass through the Millennium Highway There are, one or two areas that need to be continued. Hopefully, they'll be
Mm.
continued very quickly. But it has provided significant relief to the bus drivers and the persons traversing those roads. I see a lot of potholing work done. I saw it on my way down. I noticed that on some of the talk shows, people were calling about some holes in the roads down on the East Coast.
Mhm.
I saw some of those were filled as well. So we are seeing quick progress on it. And of course, there is a department under the Ministry of Infrastructure that has been working day and night to, provide some sort of speedy solution.
Healthcare, that has become quite a topic. Uh, Lots of suggestions. Again, it's never been as bad. People point to long delays at the OKEU accident emergency. Uh, your take on that? I mean, where
Yeah.
in terms of access to healthcare?
Yeah. Whilst we have come a long way, there is much more that we need to tackle. And it has been a ministry that a minister, and I look at Honorable Moses and I just marvel at how he's been able to just keep it together, keep everything together, because it is one of the ministries that is getting a lot of pressure. Now, Calix, if we all focus on the end goal, which is to provide a better life for citizens, the job will be done and people will be happy. Then we can progress and develop. But if we are in politics for our own selfish reasons, we lose sight of the reason why we are supposed to do what we were elected to do. And we refuse to stay connected. And so what I mean by that is people were too concerned with storing beds and paint and tiles, and too concerned with not trusting St. Lucians to give persons who, did not have any direct.
I suspect you're talking about St. Jude Hospital, and
Yeah,
we're
we,
going
we
to
come in
come back
there.
to
We come
that in
in
a little bit.
there. We
But
come in there. And the reason why I start off with that, Calix, is because we have a situation where Prime Minister has now had to implement the Health and Citizen Security Levy. If the United Workers' Party did what they had to do and not abandon the St. Jude Hospital for 3 years, we would have been in that building a long time ago. Granted, they would have taken the credit for it, and we would have been able to divert our attention to something else.
yeah, it's an interesting point that you're making, because we're talking about the issues at OKEU, and one of the major points that has been raised is that we moved from a 160 bed facility at VH to a 122 bed facility at OKEU, with the knowledge though that there was going to be 90 beds available at St. Jude Hospital, right? But that would have been with a completed St. Jude Hospital. Currently, I think St. Jude is operating, I think maybe about 59 or so beds. So you really are talking about a deficit of about 30 beds island wide, right? So you are seeing a lot of the pressure. Persons from the south have to find care within OKEU,
Mm-hmm.
and you are seeing just a general pressure on the quality of healthcare as a result of that. I don't know if it's being explained out there perhaps sufficiently as to some of the issues that we are facing as a result of that.
Right.
I mean, obviously, it's no comfort if somebody is saying, "Hey, I need to get a bed" or whatnot.
Yep.
But these, as the point, come back to the point you're making, that these decisions have in fact had impacts in terms of the quality of care that people are experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm. And it is a really touching situation. And I know Dr. Damian Graves came on and addressed the media and spoke and said that, we have to be real and honest with the situation we have at OKU.
Now, I noticed he came under fire. This is the CEO for the Millennium Heights.
Mm-hmm.
Came under fire for making a statement, which I thought was relatively reasonable, that if you are not dealing with a pure emergency, you can in fact access urgent care through the polyclinic, Rosé Polyclinic, as well as the Betty Wells, the Cashries Urban Polyclinic, um, which actually is relatively fair. I mean, this is your first point of, should be your first point of contact, trying to seek out, unless if it's a serious emergency, somebody's having a heart attack or something like that. But you should be able to actually go into those polyclinics and actually receive, a certain level of care that will allow you to then be, if you want to be referred to, something more serious. But if you've got a bellyache, you could probably head to these polyclinics, which are now open, later hours, and on weekends.
Why is it? And maybe we need to do a survey. Why is it that I decide I've had a headache for a little longer than a few hours? I need to go to the hospital. Why is it that I feel like I need to go to the hospital versus I need to go to the polyclinic or I need to go to the health center? Because for many persons, they might think that their situation is an emergency. And so I can understand where Dr. Greaves was coming from. And there was no better way to say it, if we can be honest. Because the truth is, if you do not have an emergency, it's advisable that you access care from your primary service providers, service centers. But everybody wants to go to the hospital because they believe that is maybe, and that's why I say we need to do a survey, because they probably believe that is where their problem will be solved. Although the doctors who are at the hospital are also the doctors at the health center. But Calix, on a more positive note, we've been able to improve some of those services. And that is why it is so important for us to ensure that these polyclinics and health centers are also equipped with the necessary equipment and the staff to be able to attend to the public. That they don't feel that they have to rush to the hospital for a matter that, could have been dealt with at a polyclinic. We increased testing, and that was during the time of COVID, of the Ezra long lab by up to 5 times. Right, we were able to increase that, so we were able to move quickly in terms of the backlog. We had Cuban physicians here. We had a mobile vaccination unit, and that was despite the fact that we did not have St. Jude Hospital, the hospital that we wanted, and that was despite the fact that the leader of the opposition now had given $7 million of our money to another entity. We've been able to secure 30 oxygen concentrators. We launched phase 1 of universal health coverage, which really offers free access to testing and
So there's like maternal
ultrasounds.
and child care. So
Yes.
your blood tests, your ultrasounds, your lab work, that's all free for all expecting mothers.
Yes. We also launched the 80 program, which
And I can
Prime
speak to this
Minister is
because I was
now.
just listening to Dr.
Uh-huh.
Alicia Ford this
Okay.
morning, and she
Okay.
was talking about this at the conference. Explaining a lot of the things that are available now under
Mm-hmm.
the universal health care, the male health as well,
Testing,
testing for
yes,
your
prostate,
PSA,
etc.
prostate.
Right.
So there are a number of things that are now actually being offered free
Mm-hmm.
to the public under the UHC banner.
Yep. We have free medical care for persons 80 years and older. And PM said that he wants to reduce that to the age of 70 instead of just 80. Of course, removal of VAT on medical screening equipment, so it reduces the cost for the health facilities. Launched a performance-based financing program, signed the $201 million for the reconstruction of the St. Jude Hospital and rehabilitation of the George Odlum Stadium. $11 million paid out from CIP to pay down on debt owed by OKEU. Opening of the Dr. Betty Wells. And when I speak of that email, 11 million paid out from CIP to pay down backlog of debt owed by OKU Hospital. Calix, I really have to tell you that a lot of what we are enduring now could have been avoided. It could have been avoided if certain people were not too stubborn about the agenda, which was the people's agenda. But this is where we are today. I know Dr. Not Doctor, I given him his title, Honorable Moses Jabatis did make several announcements in terms of what is coming up in healthcare and what he has been able to achieve. But it, of course, is a situation that we really need to monitor a whole lot more closely. We are seeing situations where we still have supply chain issues in terms of getting certain equipment and medicine on island. And, Calix, is really for us to continue to plod on. This administration has been in office for about 3.5 years. We've been able to achieve so much in various sectors. We have the MSME program that's really empowered people, not just the young. We have the launch of the semi-professional league, and something I am passionate about in terms of youth development and getting our young men off the
I think
streets and
Leclerc won that,
occupied.
right?
Yes, yes, yes. And my constituency. Well, yes, the Clary one. But last time we had, I think Viewfort won, and then South Castries, which is South Castries and Castries Southeast, came in second. So but the things that we've been able to do, the semi-professional league, putting lights on the field, the youth programs, the after-school programs, all of these things, Calix, and I know we are we're all out of time, so we will not be able to talk about every single thing that the SLP has been able to do, but we've been able to touch lives, whether it be in agriculture, whether it be in offering the first ever minimum wage, so persons who are making $500 or $600 make
It's now 11:30.
double. I mean, Calix, this is remarkable. And so some of these people tell you that they've been able to feed their families, albeit with a little bit, with only $500. Like they've not been able to feed their families with only $500, and now they can take care of themselves. Now their children can have better access to education. Now they can afford healthcare services that otherwise are not under governmental support. So it's really been about implementing policies that can allow for a level of empowerment, not just empowerment in terms of knowledge, but that economic empowerment.
Lisa, we're over time for sure, and we're going to have to end
I'm
it
like,
there.
we have
as
so
well.
much to talk about.
I know you've got lots to say, but unfortunately, we're going to have to end it there for this week. Of course, always wonderful having you coming in and sharing with us, and hopefully we can get you back in here
Yes,
to
let's do
cover
it.
a lot of the other things that, of course, we never touched on education and a lot of other
Yeah.
areas. But we'll get to that. I know you wanted to speak about the port and GPH and all that. So
Mhm.
next time, hopefully.
No problem. And Calix, I mean, you and your viewers or listeners, we really want to encourage persons to stay connected with the MPs, and we've reopened or relaunched our town hall Tuesdays. We had one a couple Tuesdays ago in the constituency of Dennery South, and that one was fantastic. We go across to my home constituency of Castries Southeast, so I am really excited about that one. So on Tuesday coming February 4th, all roads will lead to the Odsa Community Center. And so
What time is that?
that's at 6:30. We
Okay.
start at 6:30. And people get an opportunity to connect with their MPs. They get an opportunity to speak to the parliamentary representatives. They get an opportunity to speak to the political leader. And Prime Minister really fields a lot of questions at these town hall meetings. And just by the questions that people are asking, you understand and feel that the Labour Party is on the right track. But we don't want to have 17 men and women in a room thinking that yes, we are just on the right track, and leave it as that. We want to continue to stay connected. And for me, I always say, to remain elected, you must stay connected.
That's a good line.
I'm gonna have to trademark that copyright.
Thank you so very much, Lisa. Lisa Joa here, Senator
Thank you.
and Communications Director of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And of course, she's been our special guest today here at the Lunchroom. And of course, to all our listeners, thanks very much for tuning in. And we do hope that you have a very safe and blessed weekend, whatever you decide to get up to. And we'll see you in February, God willing, next week. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.